Heading into 2024, I think Stone Garrett, this could be his season. The reason why I say that, I'll tell you after this.
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. And of course, I'm your host, Ryan Clary. You can catch me over on Twitter at RyanClary11 and as well as the show page at LO_Nationals. For all your latest Nationals news and notes, make sure to check us out over on Twitter. And also, while you're at it, search Locked On Nationals wherever you get your podcast, including over on YouTube. And when you do that, hit that subscriber button and turn those notifications on so you get the latest Locked On Nationals episodes right to your phone or your inbox, wherever it is. That is where you will be covered going forward. Later on in today's show, the Nationals, they still need to add a little bit more. We already talked about it. We've discussed some names. This name a little bit later that we're going to get to in the third segment of today's show. I have not mentioned him yet, but I think he's an intriguing fit for this Washington Nationals ball club. I'll discuss that and who that is a little bit later on. And hint, you may not really know him, but this guy is an impactful pitcher. We'll discuss that a little later on in today's show. Also, kind of revisiting some of these free agency signings and really kind of the marquee ones, marquee, quote unquote, Nick Senzel and Juan Yepez. Who will have the greatest impact between those two guys? My answer may surprise you. I'll discuss that also later on in today's program. But now we're going to get into Stone Garrett and why I kind of believe he will have this breakout 2024 season. But before that, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. So let's get in here with Stone Garrett. Stone Garrett coming off 2023. A really good season, if we're just being honest here. And then obviously broke his leg down at Yankee Stadium, and it kind of was a crazy play. His leg got caught in the wall. You all remember that. It was an ugly injury, an ugly scene, and really just an unfortunate situation for all things considered. Stone Garrett was having a very good 2023 campaign and really his first full season up in the major leagues after going from the Arizona Diamondbacks back to the Washington Nationals. Stone Garrett, no one really expected him to kind of have this breakout sort of season. He kind of did last year, though. Ultimately, his numbers, having an 800-plus OPS over this course of 2023, hitting some power, and really for a Nationals team that so desperately needed power at so many different stages over 2023, Stone Garrett kind of provided that. And we all saw that really kind of start back in May. He kind of started off down in AAA, not really doing all too much, got called up, and then as he kind of got into the lineup a little bit more, as he got kind of acclimated to major league pitching, you started to see Stone Garrett heat up just a little bit. Obviously, again, has that breaking his leg there in Yankee Stadium is a very unfortunate injury. But this is why I think Stone Garrett can kind of break out in 2024. The leg injury may hinder him just a little bit. It may take him a little bit of time to kind of heat up in the first half of the season, kind of getting his legs back under him and everything, just getting adjusted back to, reality. Stone Garrett, the power in every tool that he possesses right now. A decent fielder, nothing special out there, but he can play left field and do it pretty well. He can DH because with DH nowadays in the National League, you need some power. With this Nationals team, we've discussed this all offseason. The reason why we were talking about Rhys Hoskins, the reason why we've talked about big power hitters is because the Nationals, they need big power hitters. Really, as far as this roster goes, as far as quote-unquote big power goes, there's no one who has more power on this roster right now than Stone Garrett. Stone Garrett could be the answer to our problem. He really could be. Now, is he going to be? We'll discuss it here just in a little bit. But Stone Garrett possesses all the tools that the Nationals need. He possesses the power abilities. He possesses the position flexibility as well, kind of playing multiple spots in the outfield over the course of the season. Not necessarily saying that I'm comfortable with him in right field, but you've seen him do it and switch over to left field as well. And then maybe, just maybe, he can play first base down the line as well. Stone Garrett, he's kind of this interesting character, to say the least. You don't necessarily know where he's going to fit in this lineup, but I can tell you this right now. Stone Garrett, he's going to have a role on this 2024 team. Now, what's going to be holding him back? You probably look at Joey Meneses, who says, this is my spot. I'm the DH at this point. I was the one hitting home runs in 2022, but in 2023, he kind of fell off a cliff as far as his power production goes. Stone Garrett did not do that. Over the course of minor league seasons, plenty of them with the Arizona Diamondbacks, Stone Garrett had power, similar to what Joey Meneses did as well. And then in a limited stint back in 2022, Stone Garrett got called up in September, ultimately showed out pretty well, but then didn't make the Arizona Diamondbacks roster for 2023, cut bait with him. Now he's a Washington National. Stone Garrett, I look at him and I just want this to work, because I truly do believe that if you give him the opportunities to, number one, DH, or even play everyday left field, at this point, I think Stone Garrett could kind of make that transition into an everyday player rather than a role player, which a lot of people project him to be. Here's the thing with him. He's got to stay consistent. And really, he started off a little bit slow last year, even though we had moments of kind of brilliance at the plate. You've seen him taking a lot of walks at times. You saw him not striking out as much early on in the season. But then as the kind of summer warmed up, so did Stone Garrett. From July all the way through August, he had a slash line of 278, 360, 526, which is an 885 OPS. Didn't have as many home runs in that time as well, but you see those numbers, all of them are legit. All of them are something that you can take, especially if you're going to be a DH in today's game. Stone Garrett solves a lot of our issues. Simple as that. We've talked about all the different things that the Nationals need at this moment, and probably power hitting is at the forefront of it. So I look at Davey Martinez and Mike Rizzo and the rest of this Nationals staff and say, what can we do with this? Because again, you're not going to be signing Rhys Hoskins. You're not going to be signing Cody Bellinger. And we all know Davey Martinez has talked about his left-handed outfielding power bat that he has wanted this offseason. Look around. It ain't happening. It's not going to happen. You're not going to sign someone who's going to be an immediate impact that you know will be on the opening day lineup and you know will be your starting left fielder from day one. You can't say that at this moment. And honestly, I don't really think the Nationals, there's a debate why they should not go that route. Because you have an opportunity with someone like Stone Garrett you've already inherited, who's already shown some promise just in 2023. It all comes down to this, though. Consistency with him. And that's the case for a lot of different Nationals. But he separates himself because he has that power and he has that ability. I'm not saying Stone Garrett's going to go out there this year and hit 30 home runs if you play him 152 games this year. But what he can do, he can provide power, position flexibility as well, playing both corner outfield spots. He can DH. And if you have him going against left-handed pitching, you know he could probably do something with it. Stone Garrett is going to be this interesting kind of case and this really study for this Nationals team going into 2024. But don't forget about that. Don't forget about Stone Garrett because of what he may have done in the past or what he may have not done in the past. Stone Garrett's going to be in the mix to be a big part of this Nationals team because of all the things that we have listed. The position flexibility that Davey Martinez and Mike Rizzo covet, and also the power. Because again, today's game, it is about power. The Texas Rangers hitting all the home runs they did this last year, it's about power. The Houston Astros minute deep, it's about power. The Braves, all the other teams across baseball, today is about power, the long ball. The Nationals, they don't have that right now. And you can look at the Arizona Diamondbacks who made the World Series and say, they didn't have all that much power. You're right. But in the postseason, the power carried them. They got hot, just like the Nationals did in 2019. So with this said, don't forget about Stone Garrett. He's not just going to forget everyone else. And the Nationals certainly are not just going to kick him to the side for some prospect at this moment. When he comes up and he's going to be making he's going to start spring training, I believe, at this moment. He'll probably have some rehab in there to begin spring training. But even then, I fully expect him to be on the opening day roster and most likely in the starting lineup, depending on who we're facing. Don't forget about Stone Garrett, though. I cannot say that enough. And I don't think Nationals fans in general, you guys probably don't forget about him. But still, if Stone Garrett, he kind of checks off your wish list of what you want. Power, position flexibility, consistency at times. We'll just see what Nationals do with Stone Garrett moving forward. But ultimately, I'm going to bet on Stone Garrett having a big season if he gets the playing time and if the Nationals get him the time that he deserves, in my opinion, maybe out in left field or even DHing over the like of Joey Meneses. Thank you all for making Locked On Nats your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, check us out over on Twitter at RyanClary11 and as well as the show page at LO_Nationals for all your latest Nationals news and notes. And of course, check us out over on YouTube. Search Locked On Nationals on YouTube and hit that subscriber button there. Next, we're going to talk about some of the two marquee, quote unquote, signings of this Nationals offseason. Nick Senzel, Juan Yepez. Simple question. Who's going to have the greater impact? I've got an answer for you right after I tell you guys about our friends over at Jase Medical. And guys, I know we come to talk sports to escape from some of the crazy realities of real life, but can we just talk for a minute about preparing for real life? According to the FDA, pharmacies are running out of antibiotics like amoxicillin right in the middle of the worst flu season in over a decade. This is scary for everybody involved. I can't imagine a more helpless feeling than if my mother or one of my kids got sick while a supply chain issue kept them from life-saving medication they needed. Thankfully, we'll be okay because of Jase Medical. The Jase case is a pack of 5 different antibiotics to treat a long list of bacterial illnesses, including UTIs, respiratory infections, sinusitis, skin infections, among others. This stuff could happen to any of us. So when you do this, I want you to avoid this by visiting jasemedical.com and complete your physician encounter. It will be reviewed by a board-certified physician, and your medications will be dispensed by a licensed pharmacy at a fraction of the regular cost. It's never been more important to be prepared than today. So go to jasemedical.com and use offer code LOCKEDON and get $20 off your order. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. Again, that is Locked On Sports Today. Let's get into this. Juan Yepez, Nick Senzel. Not the most exciting offseason. We can just say that right then and there. But who will have the biggest impact between those two guys? This is kind of an interesting debate. Nick Senzel, a former top 5 pick from the Cincinnati Reds back in 2017, I believe, off the top of the dome. Nick Senzel, over the years, hasn't really been all too impressive. Back in 2019, in his rookie year, he was relatively impressive, but still not really all that great. Juan Yepez, a prospect in the St. Louis Cardinals system, in which at points in 2021, hitting a ton of home runs, kind of proving himself to be a big prospect in that Cardinals system, ultimately kind of disappointed in 2022, and then in 2023, really fell off the map, didn't have the power that he did the years prior, and ultimately, the Cardinals cut bait with him, and now he ends up with the Nationals right here and right now. Juan Yepez is on a minor league deal, and now, for the other hand, Nick Senzel, he's going to be on the major league roster, most likely being your opening day third baseman. Juan Yepez, though, don't sleep on Juan Yepez. To answer this question right here and right now, I think Juan Yepez will have the bigger impact over Nick Senzel. The reason why I say that, it kind of ties into what we were talking about with Stone Garrett. What stands out with Juan Yepez? Number 1, power. Number 2, position flexibility. We've all talked about this. When you're in a rebuilding situation the way that the Nationals are, and we still are, by the way, you have to have guys like Juan Yepez, Stone Garrett, and hopefully, just hopefully, you throw them against the wall and they can pan out. That's where the Nationals are right now. That's where you are. You're signing a lot of minor league deals, getting guys into spring training, seeing what they can do, competing against other veteran kind of first baseman, Juan Yepez like. All those things. The Nationals are doing the right thing by shopping in this right bucket. They're in the right aisle right now. But ultimately, the reason why I say that Juan Yepez could have a greater impact over this 2024 season is because of the power. Listen, everybody, it's tiring at times. I understand it. But here's the thing about Juan Yepez. The power potential that he possesses, that is kind of something that you can kind of grasp onto and say, maybe he comes in and kind of revamps this lineup. Because let's talk about this. Juan Yepez has played corner outfield positions. He can play first base. Right then and there, you're covering 3 different positions that he can play on a daily basis. Being a right-handed bat, again, not that lefty power bat that Davey Martinez and Mike Rizzo have talked about over this offseason, but still, he covers power. The Nationals need power. It doesn't matter what side of the plate it's coming from. A left-handed power bat in the outfield would be nice, but still, just get me power. It doesn't necessarily matter what side of the plate they're on. That's just me. But with what Juan Yepez does, he's going to separate himself for that reason. I think as soon as he gets into spring training, I think a lot of people will start to realize he could be our opening day first baseman. Some people may not like that fact because, again, it's not a flashy name, even though he's had some brilliant moments against the Phillies in years past in the postseason. But he's not like the sexy, flashy name that you kind of think of that you're like, this is going to be my opening day first baseman, and I'm happy about it. It's not even a Dominic Smith kind of signing from last year when people were talking about, well, this guy had MVP votes at one point in his career, talking about Dominic Smith. You can kind of talk yourself into that a little bit more than Juan Yepez. But considering this, mid-20s, still young, still has time to grow, and ultimately the reason why the Cardinals cut loose with him is because they couldn't find ways to get him on the field when you have Paul Goldschmidt, Jordan Walker, and guys like that who are coming through the farm system and who are just established stars on the roster like Goldie. You don't have to worry about that. You can let go of Juan Yepez and not necessarily worry about the future of him. But with this Nationals team, they're going to find ways to get Juan Yepez on this roster. He may not start on opening day. That's fine. Minor league deal. Ultimately, he's going to have to win himself a job to get that job. But beyond that, I could easily see him getting called up after 2 weeks down in AAA. They notice he's killing the ball down there. He's got his power back. We need to get this guy up in the majors and get a good look at him. Because here's this, kind of tying in this week's show. Again, it's been a lot about power. It's been a lot about first base. Juan Yepez checks both those boxes. I'm not going to go through this rebuild and not turn over every single stone out there. You have to. When you go through this rebuild, guys like Juan Yepez, they're not going to be getting all the opportunities because they aren't a blue chip kind of prospect. The Nationals are fortunate enough right now. You don't have anyone down in the minors that you can say is going to be your future first baseman. We could talk about Yohandy Morales and kind of the obvious answer to me. Maybe he's going to be the guy at first base down the line. Who knows at this moment in time? But I can tell you this, Juan Yepez, no one's going to be really competing with him to take over that first base job. No one. You can't say that at this moment. And the reason why? Who else? Who else is going to be competing with Juan Yepez? Now, on the other hand, with Nick Senzel, you may be asking, well, why are you just kind of kicking him to the side? It's not necessarily kicking him to the side, but I just think with all the opportunities that he has been given, starting over at third base, the Cincinnati Reds in this rebuild, they've given him all the opportunities in the world. He hasn't necessarily stayed healthy the entire time as well. But Nick Senzel, he's had a lot more opportunities up in the majors to kind of bounce back. He still hasn't. I'm not going to buy into it right now. And I can't, in fact. I haven't been able to see if Juan Yepez can bounce back or not, but still, he's had a little bit more production over the years. This is going to be kind of an interesting case of where are the opportunities going to come? And I think Juan Yepez, while he may have less opportunities to begin than when it comes to Nick Senzel, I think Juan Yepez, as soon as he gets up into the majors and whatever difference that he can make, that's when you'll see a much better version of this Nationals team. I'm not going to be banking on Juan Yepez. I don't think if Juan Yepez is going to come out here and slash for a 500 slug out there, have an 800 OPS, I'm not saying that. But I think he's going to show you just a little bit more than Nick Senzel will. And I think a lot of people should probably be prepared for that because the Cincinnati Reds, they moved on from Nick Senzel for a reason. He was not getting the job done. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. I've got a name. You may not know the name, but I've got a name. Former Detroit Tiger, starting pitcher / reliever / whatever you want to call him. I'm going to tell you that name after I tell you guys about our friends over at FanDuel. And guys, the NFL regular season is wrapped up and it's time for playoff football. And there's no better time to get on the action than with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get 150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. Again, $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. The app is so easy to use, and there are so many different ways to bet, like live same-game parlays. You can go in for their parlay hub, kind of search and match all the different things that you want for a playoff weekend. Like maybe you want a Jalen Hurts anytime touchdown, as well as an Isaiah Pacheco anytime touchdown parlay. You could do that with our friends at FanDuel. So when you go to FanDuel, visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a layup. Again, FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a layup, because FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL. And thank you for making Locked On Nats your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, catch Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. Again, that is Locked On Sports Today. One more free agency. One more free agent that I am going to implore the Nationals to sign. Former Detroit Tigers starting pitcher / bullpen guy, really / swingman, whatever you want to call him, Ronnie Garcia. You may not know him. I'm not going to lie. I didn't know all too much about him. But here's the thing. Similar to Nick Senzel, similar to Juan Yepez, this fits what the Nationals are looking for. Ronnie Garcia has not pitched in the major leagues since 2022, but considering this, 26, 27 years old, young, and has a pretty decent pitch selection as well, and has shown some promise over the years. Back in 2022, in 16 games, he started 8 of those, went 51 innings pitched, only gave up 40 hits, 9 home runs in that time frame, which is pretty good amount of home runs there. But still, 4.41 ERA, and prior to that, pretty decent seasons beyond that. But even then, the numbers are irrelevant here. The Nationals, you need to hit a home run here. You need to find a way to hit home runs in free agency. I think back to what the Dodgers did with Max Muncy. If you remember, Max Muncy was basically cut loose from the Oakland A's, was an afterthought. No one really thought that he would have this big kind of turnaround in his career. I'm not saying Ronnie Garcia is going to be like a Max Muncy type and kind of turn his career around here. But when you're in a rebuild, you have to find guys like this. Lane Thomas is already kind of fitting that category, but you don't have to stop right there. The Nationals, if they were smart, go after someone like Ronnie Garcia. Sign him to a minor league deal. He's not going to cost all that much money, and ultimately, he's probably not going to make the major league roster on day one anyways. But I want to take a look at a guy like this. Number one, nasty breaking pitches. He's already proven that over the course of his minor league career, and as well as portions up in his major league career as well. The issue is probably the home run rate. The home run rate has always kind of killed him down in the minor leagues and as well as up in the major leagues. But still, back in 2020, again, early on in his career, he had 7 home runs given up in 21 innings pitched. That's not good. And then 9 home runs in 51 innings pitched back in 2022. Again, not all too great. But he can fix that here. And we have the opportunities and we have the resources now with new front office, new player development system. I think the Nationals, if they were to go this route, this could kind of be that success story that so many teams in rebuild modes kind of covet. You need to find guys like this. Maybe this is the next guy that you can kind of develop and turn him into something and make you know what, or make chicken salad out of your chicken you know what. That's kind of the analogy that the Nationals should be going for. And really, that's the camp that they should always be in moving forward. That's just one name to think about going forward, but still, we'll see what the Nationals do. Thank you all for making Locked On Nats your first listen every single day. We'll catch you guys next week as we inch closer to spring training. Again, pitchers and catchers report in just about a month or so. We are not that far away from baseball. Catch you on the flip side.